these are the only plugins I use to make beats. In today's video, I want to go over the plugins that stood the test of time. I will separate this video into 3 categories. The first one will be plugins that generate sound, so instrument plugins. The second one would be effects. The third one to finish off will be mastering plugins. All right, let's get right into it. The first plugin that I use in almost all of my beats is Kontakt or Complete, the Complete bundle. I bought Complete Standard 13. There's a couple instruments that I really like. One of them is the Noir piano, but there's a bunch of banks that came with this. Analog Dreams is not bad. Ignition keys, hybrid keys. There's interesting instruments. I just find that you need to add your own effects. They're not too big on effects in this Kontakt player, which is okay. The sounds, they're still very thick and full. These piano here are a bit, I think, older and a bit cheaper sounding, but they're still good to have and to explore. To be honest, I kind of like only use the Noir piano these days, and also the bass too is nice. I know Kontakt, there's a bunch of third-party banks that you can get. I didn't explore them too much. I heard that they're very good quality. It's just when I buy a plugin, I like to, spend some money and then just get a lot of sounds instead of buying like $20 here, $30 here, $50 here. It just becomes $500 very quickly if you start buying all these banks. Session Strings is very nice. It's a bit older, but it's still a very good quality, I find. Now, the second plugin to get this one out of the way is Omnisphere 3. This is definitely my favorite plugin. I've been using Omnisphere, probably not the first version, but Omnisphere 2 forever since I'm young. And I just find the patches, the sounds, the synthesizers, there's a lot of variation. There's a lot of different types of sounds, and it's definitely my go-to, especially now with this update. I'm not even sponsored or anything, man. I'm just like a huge fan of Omnisphere. I've been using it forever. I had Keyscape before, and even the pianos and the keyboards were top keyboards. It's pretty much a synthesizer, and the sounds, they're just like all different. There's like so many different types of sounds. It's more expensive, but like I said before, once I buy something, like there's so many presets, and I just like to have a huge bank so I can explore it for years. The sounds are also very modern. There's ARPs, there's pads, there's just like everything you need. Now, a nice little plugin that I've been using a lot before I just got Omnisphere is Pigments, and it was fairly cheap. It was like $50, and I really like the sounds that came out of it, but it's all digital, right? Everything is on the computer. It still sounds very nice. There's some nice textures in there. There's a lot of presets that you can use. It's not recorded as waves, so the sound you will get is a bit limited. If you want to go towards that analog route, then you gotta kind of import your own, or Omnisphere is a good choice for that. Compared to other smaller synthesizers, digital synthesizers, I would say this one is very good. I was very happy with it. I bought the Arturia V collection, and I went through all their sounds for like a week. I wasn't too impressed coming from Omnisphere and Kontakt. It didn't sound like full enough, so I returned it and I got Pigments, and I was really happy with Pigments. But since I got Omnisphere, I gotta say, like I pretty much didn't touch it, but it's definitely worth the money though. Okay, now Reason Rack plugin. I used to make beats into Reason. I'm talking about like 15 years ago, like 10 years ago, and the sounds, honestly, they were pretty good. I find they're different compared to what you get these days, and it's also like a very old version, but there's definitely a lot of sounds in here that I still use sometimes just to like give me that Reason character. There's some acoustic banks, but also a lot of synths. It's all like digital too, except the acoustic banks there. Right now, there's a lot of like leads that I still use from here. This is my favorite sound in Reason. Like, it's kind of one of my signature sound. It's the big pan flute. I love this one. I always loved it. I'm a big flute guy. And there's also like old school leads and stuff like that, which are great. Then again, this sounds a bit, I don't want to say cheap, but it has its own aesthetic, which is great for some music, and if you add effects to a lot of these sounds, your own effects, then they start sounding pretty crazy. I'm pretty sure there's new versions of Reason, but I think the issue was that I always had to like pay for the updates, and like over the years, if you have to pay $100, or I don't know how much it is every year, it starts accumulating to so much money. So I kind of stopped using Reason. for that reason. The last instrument that I'm gonna mention, honestly, I didn't use it too much. I just used it for like 2 months before I got Omnisphere because I was kind of like tired of using Kontakt and other synths. So and I wanted to get like different types of textures and sounds. It's pretty good. The sounds are very harsh and digital, and they don't have that nice harmonic analog texture. But if you make that kind of music, rage music, or if you're looking for this type of sound, this is pretty good. They have a lot of different leads, and the textures are kind of like very harsh and like saw-ish, and they're a bit all over the place. Like, there's a lot of cool sounds in here, I have to say. It came with complete standard, so that was good, and that's the only reason I have it, honestly. So I'm just like mentioning it. I wasn't gonna include this instrument, but I will. It's more related to drums. It's called Atlas, and I used it more like before when I got it. It basically groups all your sounds together, all your drums. I haven't used it in a minute, to be honest, because I kind of use the same sounds, like those classic trap sounds. But this is great if I'm looking for a different kind of percussion, if you want to explore all the sounds that you have and they group them by similarity. I know there's also another plugin that does that out there. I think it's called EXO something. Maybe I should kind of like use it a bit more. We'll see. Anyways, these days, like, my drums are like so minimal. I don't go too crazy on the drums. I feel like music is becoming more and more minimalistic. So if you have drums that work, just keep using them, you know, or explore, man. Do what you want to do. It's your music. Now let's get into the effects that I use on a daily basis. All right, I'm gonna start with the top ones. Replika XT, I pretty much use it on a lot of, well, pretty much every beat. When I want to add instant inspiration to the sound, if it's too dry, it's great, honestly. But there's a lot of delays out there. You can even use the fruity delay, and there's other ones that you can explore. This one came with complete standard, so I have it, and I like the presets too. There's a lot of good stuff. It kind of changes your sound too a bit. The second plugin that I use pretty much on all of my beats is the Valhalla vintageverb. It puts your sound in a different space in your mix. You see, it changes your sound. There's also a lot of presets that you can explore, and I know so many people are using it. The third plugin that I use, not too much these days, but I still use, is a bit crusher. Now, I'm only using this one because the Decimort 2 bit crusher, I used to use it so much. I changed computers, I don't have it yet, so I'll have to figure something out with the licenses. But this one, if you want to create or make your sound kind of older or give it character, this is great. There's a lot of different presets. If one of your sounds sounds too clean, then this is a great way to dirty it, pretty much. You can also look into the Decimort 2 bit crusher, which is a bit better than this one, I would say. There's more options, and it's kind of more vintage. Definitely gonna have to mention this one, because this one is more for like vocals. So if you record vocals, which I actually do too, I make songs in FL Studio, and all these effects that I'm talking about right now, it's also for vocals too, not just instruments. Right? So this one I use a lot, and also in my tutorials, I'm kind of using it right now as I speak. It de-reverbs any room you're in, and it's great. If you push it a bit too much, you're gonna start having a bit of artifacts, so you can't push it too much, depending like how good your mic is too. But I have to say, clarity de-reverb, it's great. It's from Waves, I think, yeah, and it just works great. It makes your voice sound just cleaner, like if it's recorded more in a booth, you know, instead of having those room acoustics. Guitar rig, I have to mention this one too. I haven't used it in a minute, but man, this one gave me a lot of different sounds, patches, presets, and there's also effect types. If you wanna, let's say if I go delay, it really changes your sound. These types of effects, they're great if you don't have a huge sound bank and you want to like just change your sound, because you can make like thousands different sounds with one sound, you know. even though the source is the same. I should probably use it a bit more. But since I've been really focusing on composition and melodies, I see a lot of these younger producers, man, they go crazy on effects like Portal and stuff like that. But I'm not too focused on that. H910 dual harmonizer. This one is great. It's very vintage sounding. I used to use it a lot since I got Omnisphere. The sounds, they already come with so many effects, so I'm relying less on these effects. This is very, very creative. So for these next couple of effects, I used to use a lot, but I kind of stopped using, and I feel like I should definitely mention them. Probably know about halftime. I find people use halftime way less. It used to be really, really popular a couple years back. People are using it less and less, but I'm just gonna mention it because I used it so much, man, for so many years. Before it crashes, I'm gonna mention Looperator. I used to use Looperator a lot. The last effect that I have to mention is Tape by Baby Audio, and just because I changed computers, I have to like activate the license, so I can't show it to you. But this is great if you're looking for that tape simulation. I used it a lot for the past year. A lot of these plugins that I used to use are kind of becoming a bit irrelevant, to be honest. This is a whole different ball game if you start using Omnisphere effects on your sounds. And I use Omnisphere, so technically I'm using their effects anyways on all the presets. So yeah, so that's it for effects. Now let's get into mastering plugins, which is a very short list. The first one that I'm going to mention, Fruity Soft Clipper. Okay, the Fruity Soft Clipper is top if you want your drums to hit, to have that trap and just to hit in that FL Studio aesthetic. This is it, the Fruity Soft Clipper. I used to have the T-Rex Soft Clipper, which I still have it and used it back then. And there's also the Reason. If I go into the Reason Rack plugin, at some point I tested them all like side by side to see like what sound comes out of all of these. If I go into Maximizer, there's a soft clipper here on the Reason one. You can take off the limiter and just have the soft clipper, and literally like it's almost the same as the Fruity Soft Clipper. There's like, it's the same. Like I couldn't tell any difference between the Fruity Soft Clipper and the Reason Maximizer when using the soft clip. And then there's the T-Rex, which has a bit of a different sound, a less present and more tamed in terms of like distortion and saturation when it comes to drums. And I just liked the way the kick hits more with the Fruity Soft Clipper. It just sounded a bit harder for my type of music, but if you're doing kind of softer music, then check out the T-Rex Soft Clipper for sure. And now for the last mastering / mixing plugins that I use on vocals a lot for sure, but also on the overall beat or song that I'm working with, is definitely Ozone 10. Like this is top. This is top in terms of digital in the box mastering plugins. That's the one I'm using. It works. It just works. The equalizers are great. It's very surgical. Dynamic EQ, I don't use it that much, but you know, it's there. Exciter, I use it a lot actually, and I even use the exciter on 808s. There's a bunch of different distortion ways, I guess you can say. I use it on 808s and just on the overall beat. And personally, I like to do a drum bus and an instrument bus and then have everything routed to the master channel, have Ozone on here, and then add some excitement to everything, and it glues everything together, and it kind of creates a bit of that distortion, saturation whenever the 808 hits. It's top, honestly. I know a lot of people put a soft clipper on the master, which is cool too, but I like to do it this way. And then there's also the maximizer, which, man, that you can push it. I use the IRC Modern or Transient, and then you can push the sound, and it's great too. The imager is amazing too. Whenever I'm recording vocals, I always use the imager, the exciter, the equalizer, and maximizer. This is pretty much it in terms of list. These are my go-to plugins. Everything else that I use, you know, I probably used it at some point back in the days, or I just don't use it now still every day when I make beats. Let me know what plugins you guys used and if there's some that I should check out. All right, take care.